want me to tell you about an incident that I think goes to the heart of our readings this morning. The incident occurred after the Haitian earthquake back in 2010. A newspaper photographer was assigned to cover the devastation. In the midst of the suffering, he witnessed a simple scene of compassion that moved him deeply. The photographer wrote the following description. Food was being given out, so the people had something to eat. There was a long line, but it moved quickly. In the line, at the very end, stood a young girl, about 12 years old. She waited patiently as those ahead received some rice, canned foods, and a little fruit. Slowly but surely, she moved to the front and to the food. Occasionally, she would glance across the street with concern. But she did not notice the anxious faces of those distributing the food. The food was starting to run out. Her attention seemed always to focus on the three figures across the street. At last, she stepped forward to get her food, only to find all that was left was a single lonely banana. The workers were embarrassed to tell her, "That's all there is left." However, she did not seem to mind. Quietly and quickly, she took the fruit across the street to three small children who were waiting, maybe sisters and a brother. She carefully peeled the banana and divided it into three pieces. Placing the three pieces in the hands of the younger children, she sat down and began to lick the inside of the banana skin. The photographer concluded, "In that moment, I swear I saw the face of God." This is the kind of compassion that Jesus had for the people in the gospel story that we heard this morning, and what he meant when he said, "Give them something to eat yourselves." Giving something to eat is the theme of our readings this morning. The prophet Isaiah states that we are invited to share the rich abundance that God provides for us. If God is truly the center of our lives, our aspirations will be fulfilled and our needs met. And we will listen to the words of God, "Heed me, and you shall eat well." However, before Jesus performed the miracle of the multiplication in the gospel, he challenged his disciples. They were to give to others what they had been given, even if it was a meager amount. They were not to turn people away, but give them something to eat. The disciples were to join Jesus in his co-miracle workers. So our Lord performed this miracle out of compassion, but also to teach his followers that they were to contribute to his mission. It is through his disciples and us today that Jesus ministers to the world. As the photographer said about the young girl in his report, "In that moment, I swear to you, I saw the face of God." We also must be that face of God, bringing his love to others. Then, as Paul states in his letter, we will never be separated from the great love that God has for each and every one of us. But will we have the strength to give something to eat to others? In the gospel miracle, Jesus took the loaves, looked up to heaven, blessed and broke them, and gave them to the disciples to distribute. Certainly, in this image, Matthew intended these words to point to the Eucharist that Jesus instituted at his Last Supper. This Eucharist is where you and I get the strength that we require. The abundance of grace in Jesus' body and blood, in Jesus' body and blood, and it is there that we ask for help. Let us allow this grace to strengthen us and make us daughters and sons who reflect his love in all that we say and all that we do for others.